this class for Innovation 2100 on tech writing. Sorry about the delay. I actually was recording this on the Teams channel for my other class, which I also have to do a recording for, and I got the wrong channel, so starting this over again. First, I just want to say to everyone, it's been a good semester. I've been challenging having it as asynchronous. I don't get to interact as much. I see some of you in other classes, but overall, it's much harder to get feedback in this. But I've been reasonably happy with the way most of the classes gone. As many of you have seen, right, working with clients always adds a twist. It's hard to know what's going on. Things don't always go as planned, and we have to adapt. So even though I try to have nice structure for assignments and timelines, doesn't always work, especially if the clients don't work. So first, with respect to some of the assignments that we're actually due this week, if your client didn't give you what you needed to do it, you should have gone back and you should have asked me, you should have asked your client, just saying, the client never gave us the final proposal. Well, the clients told me they were going to give it to you, but if they didn't, then I didn't know that, so you should have followed up to do that. So if I took off points for this week's assignment and you want to go back and redo them based on getting the actual assignment done, that's fine. In fact, even for other assignments, the goal of this class is learning. I don't give points just to give points. I give points to reflect your learning. And if you're happy that you are not getting an A, but you're not failing, and that's in the middle, and you're okay with it, that's fine. Do remember team grades are not uniform. I have to take the journals that you guys have given and use that for deciding it. So for this final week, there's really two things. And the first one, it's not what I wanted to do. The final proposal package. First, for those of you whose proposals have already been turned in, I gave last week a slightly different assignment. I talked about it. Right, it's actually due this week for the final version, where you're comparing what you did versus what your client turned in. That's fine. So even though I've called it here the final proposal, it's whatever that final bit is. If I gave your team some specialized assignment. If your client didn't give you enough to write a full proposal, then you're turning in what you have. All of that is what goes in here. This is what I want to put in here. So whatever you have, this is you're putting it together. If it's not complete, I expect there to be, and I'll update this to actually say that, I expect there to be some memo to the boss, right? If that's the way you want to think of it, it's like, here's what we were able to accomplish. We had a modified assignment. Even if you're working in an organization, you can't expect that your boss will always remember everything. So it's always good to document, here's what we're told to do, here's what we're doing, so there's some miscommunication. So you get to stick that in a memo. For most of you, this should have already been done last week, but I just pushed the thing to the end of this week because a couple of you had issues that you didn't get for from the client. If it was really far and you want to do some editing, that's fine, and I will give you some points for respect to that. The second thing is an individual assignment, so this is not a team assignment. And basically, you're going to produce a speech or presentation, and I want that to be a 5 to 15 minute video. I'll actually do I'll upload a video on giving effective presentations either later today or tomorrow morning. I thought I actually had it uploaded, and as I edited this, I realized I never uploaded that last week, so I'll go and find it and probably have to re-record it and upload it. But basically, this is storytelling from the twist point of view, but you have some content. You got to find that balance. We talked about storytelling as story and telling, and so you got to put that together. There's many ways you can choose to have a story here. This could be you trying to get a community partner to join your team. You summarize your efforts for the client because it's done. Your presentation to a manager about why your team's proposal should be selected as the one to submit if there's more than one. Or a presentation to a reviewer why your proposal is the one to fund. Or a potential employer. So one thing I want you to do is, before you actually get into the speech itself, I want you to say, here's my expected audience, and here's the objective I'm trying to reach. Again, tactical writing, we have objectives. Here's what I'm trying to reach. And then take a quick pause, and then jump into what the video, right? In there, someplace, there should be at least one soundbite where your phrasing and verbal mental imagery, you have something to make your story stick. We talked about sticky stories, and we're coming back to that here. So I want to have that mental imagery, some of the kinds of stuff you have in a good presentation to make it a soundbite. I really shouldn't have to be told, here's a soundbite. Don't say, here's my soundbite. It should be something where the way it comes across just makes it that soundbite. That might include a little bit of dramatic pause where just before you get to it, you have a little bit of pause to make sure it's going to. You might practice that line a couple times to make sure it really comes out. You can either post on YouTube as unlisted and submit the link here, or you can upload the file here. Either way works. Some of you had some difficulties uploading a larger file, so especially if you're from home, it might go faster to YouTube. This is actually not just you talking extemporaneous. When you're doing speech writing, you write a speech. You write a speech. There's words that get done on paper. So I want you to upload the notes from the development of the speech as well as the final text or slides you wrote for the speech and presentation. So you might have to do a zip file with multiple things to put them together. This doesn't have to be word for word speech writing. Some people have it word for word. If you have enough notes to say here's exactly what you're going to say and then you speak to it well, that's fine. If you have a bunch of notes and it's not spoken to well, that's not going to help you. If you have a written script and you're reading it as though you're just reading off the screen, that's probably not going to, you got to go through a balance between them, right? If you do it in PowerPoint presentation, you upload your notes in the PowerPoint, that's fine. I just want to be able to see that you actually thought about writing what's going to go into this speech. And so that's the, okay, so, and then there's one other assignment. So the last assignment, which is actually due on Saturday instead of Friday, is your final journal. I wanted you to discuss your role in the final proposal body and package, what learning you had in editing, rewriting, and how you applied that. I've already covered some of that in the last journal, but some of you didn't actually do that very well, and so if I gave you feedback that you need to fix it, you get to fix it here and you get some more points for it. I want to see, in this case, I want to see you actually writing, so I want to see the original and edited, rewritten section of a journal. So I want you to write it, and then I want you, and normally when you're writing something like this, right, some of you have just had raw text. I don't see the writing process. I want a little bit more your writing process. I don't want this to be a ChatGPT output. I want you to have some writing, and then I want to see your edited versions you went through it. And I want you to discuss your overall learning during this process and through the semester, right? I want at least one positive insight and one learning from negative events, and I want you to include that in the journal, in the proposal that you put together for all that stuff. So this is a separate upload where you can upload that version. And then a couple people have asked for, is there any way to get extra credit? Some of you need some extra credit, and I had this similar assignment last year. I want you to analyze, the last bit here is about speeches and speeches. So here I have links to 3 speeches, very well-known speeches, all of which they're sort of classic. You can get up to 20 points. How many points will depend on how well you do in doing this. So all these people had at different times, different immediate purposes, but they had a very powerful way to mobilize audiences to get people behind them. And the content of the speech is not what I want you to focus on, although the storytelling might be. It's not the actual what is the message, but what is the messaging, which is where the story would come in. So it's in part about how they said things. So I want you to analyze that. For each of these elements below, there's going to be 4 things to look at. I want each of them to relate to some section of the twist book, the reading we actually have for this semester that some of you clearly have done and some maybe not. So I want you to write a 1,000, 1,500 word analytical essay comparing the speech writing techniques of these 3 significant pieces above. I want you to talk about the rhetorical devices and techniques, structure and organization, language and style, and comparative analysis. And as you go to do that, right, I want to see those elements related back to how some of those things showed up in the twist book, so that you're actually relating this back to our reading. And it makes it so you can't just go into ChatGPT and type this in and say, do this, because it's not going to know what's in the twist book. So I want to see your analytical and critical skills, your ability to relate this to the kinds of techniques we talked about in this class. This is not about the content of the speech, only about the above items and maybe how those items are related to the storytelling technique in terms of structure, organization, rhetorical devices, style, and comparative analysis of the story, but not about what is the actual message, right? Generic responses like the use of ChatGPT or Grammarly Go will not meet the criterion for our analysis. I'm looking to see what you're doing. You can use them for correcting text, but not for the generation. I'm pretty good at telling, I think. And if I think it is, I'm just not going to give you the credit for this. This is all extra credit. So this is due on the 18th, which is after our final. So, and then just to remind you, our final, exam is, and I will try, and I've been trying to catch up on grades. So if your pre-final average is greater than 87%, then this cannot hurt you. You can take it, and if it raises your grade, it can. If not, it doesn't. So this is available on December 18th, which is, I'm pretty sure I forgot to check. This is what I thought was our online quiz date, but this looks like it didn't change it from last year, so maybe I forgot to update. I'll check, and I'll post this announcement when it is. But basically, you have one day. It's an online exam. As in the midterm, this is a respondus monitor, so you have to go through. But we already did for the midterm, so I'm not going to make you do that. So you're going to have to use the lockdown browser and webcam to be able to do this. If you have any difficulty with that and you had problems in the midterm or whatever, which no one complained about, let me know and we'll talk about how to do that. So that'll be the last thing due on December 18th. It's been a good semester. Hopefully I'll see some of you guys around in the future, but I'm retiring this semester, giving up tenure, so probably won't be teaching this again, at least not for a while.